Live from New York, this is the Harvey Hour. My name's Nathan Harvey, and as always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Pretty good show today. We're gonna have a good show today. I'm excited for today. Happy Friday, fun day, and end of the work week. How you doing today?
Happy it's Friday.
Yeah, we got a lot in store for today. Once again, like I said Friday fun day in the past. I legitimately have a nice fun, funny, not topic per se, but more so reaction to show just how bad one NFL team may be this season. But let's jump into our first topic of today's show. So, football is officially back, and we saw the return of Zach Wilson in the starting quarterback role. Now, most of the starters didn't play. The Jets had Mekhi Becton play 7 snaps, and then tap out, call himself out, and he's the only lineman in the entire game to complain about the turf. So I guess, he's not 100% ready to go if he's saying, or if he's mentioning and complaining about how the turf is not exactly friendly to people of his size. However, there were, other linemen out there. But you know what? Football's back. It's good to see. The Browns had a late comeback in the fourth quarter to go up and beat the Jets. Man, it's good to see people in pads hitting each other, collisions, running, passing, quarterbacks throwing. So I don't know, did you get anything from this game? Anything you like? Anything that concerns you? Overall, what's your reaction to football officially being in full swing and returning for the 2023 year?
I thought the field goal kicker for the Jets was good. Right? Who was it?
Greg Zuerlein.
Greg Zuerlein.
Greg the leg.
He kicked a 54, a 44, and a 44. A 54-yard field goal is pretty good, for first time he tried to kick one in a game this year, and even though it's the Hall of Fame game, which means absolutely nothing. I thought he did a good job. Zach Wilson looked okay when he was out there. He threw that long pass, 57 yards. That was a nice pass. The guy made a nice catch on it, too. There it is. Look at that. Look, watch this catch. Oh, gee. He almost fell down. That was a nice catch. Has that guy got a chance of making the team, number 86, do you know?
Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, that's a nice catch. Then the Jets were up 13-0. They had a short touchdown run there. And then the Browns started to come back. They had a short TD pass, end around for another TD, made it 16 to 13. 16 to 14 at one point there. And then they took the lead in the fourth quarter with a 40-yard TD pass from some guy I'd never heard of. And then the Jets came back with a nice long punt return. They got down there. There was a pass interference call, got them down really pretty close, and then Strevler came in through an interception. So, I don't know. It kind of looked like the Jets of old to me, even though there was nobody I knew out there playing. I hope that's not a foreshadowing of things to come for them, right? And they're hyped up to be great, and they turn out to be a bust. We'll see.
Well, I actually got. First of all, that I'm going to put that throw from Zach Wilson in. That's a huge positive because we still can now know he can still sling the hell out of the ball. So, I mean, that is a beautiful throw, beautiful catch on the run, going full speed. The first thing I would say is Zach Wilson, I think, should have played more. He's your backup quarterback.
Yeah, why not? Let him play.
He's looked absolutely abysmal for the past 2 seasons. He got benched twice last year. You got to let him play more than 5 total passes. So I think that's honestly the first thing that should have happened. I think Zach Wilson should have gotten more reps. On the other side, DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson went, 8 of 11, 82 yards and a touchdown? I mean, the guy was slinging the ball.
And it well, too.
Yeah, no, he played very, very well.
Tiptoe down the sidelines there for a first down, some extra yards.
Yeah,
they're okay.
I mean, if you're talking about backup quarterback quality, I mean, DTR, the way he played, it was absolutely phenomenal.
Here's my thought on Zach Wilson being in there only for 5 plays?
He had 5 pass attempts, yeah.
5 pass attempts. It's reverse psychology. If you leave a guy in on the Hall of Fame game, a meaningless game, nobody playing that anybody ever heard of before, that means you don't think he's any good and you're just giving him the reps to see if he can get a little better.
Okay.
If you pull him out, then it means you think he's valuable And you're saving him for future games. I think that's a mistake in his case. Why not let him play?
That's what I'm saying.
I agree with you, but I think that's what the thinking is. They didn't want to diss him by leaving him in a game that was totally meaningless.
Maybe, but it's also good to get reps when you're that bad and your team somehow still believes
Plus,
in you.
when you're starting to play good there, he started off good. It built a little confidence, maybe, which is something he needs a lot of when he got hammered by the New York media last year. Wow.
No, it was pretty
He got slaughtered.
I mean, when you clearly screw up a win for your team, and then you go, and the media asks, were you responsible for that? And you just flat out,
no.
One-word answer, just nonchalantly go, no. People are a little taken back by that because it was clearly your fault.
Yeah. Well, he had to backtrack on that one and say, yes, it was my fault.
No, he took a beating after that.
Yeah.
I also saw I saw one more positive and then two potential negatives, and I mentioned one of them with Mekhi Becton, but I want to go back to the positive now. I mean, regardless whether or not, we're playing there were some second stringers in here, mostly third, potentially fourth stringers in here. The Browns could run the hell out of the ball. 172 yards on 33 carries with 1 touchdown. I mean, if that's not a positive thing that you could run the ball, I mean, I don't know what's not. You had Demetric Felton Jr. He ran for 46 yards and a touchdown in only 7 attempts. John Kelly Jr. He had 4.2 yards per attempt. He had 42 yards in total. I mean, like I said, DTR, he was the third highest rusher with 36 yards. I mean, that's really, really great. And speaking on the Browns side, they have a young tackle named DeJuan Jones. I believe he went in the 4th round. He went 35 pass blocking snaps, no pressures allowed. And you might be like, oh, they're just playing third and second stringers. Well, let's take a look at that because actually he went up against 2 first-round picks. Will McDonald IV, their pick of this past year, and Jermaine Johnson, the really promising defensive lineman that was taken 2 years ago. And also Bryce Huff, who actually had a sack in this game until he went up against DeJuan Jones, who was actually a really, really good pickup. Now, he's a 4th-round pick. Can you really label that a steal? We'll have to see, but it is still the preseason. But I'm not saying, oh, my God, this guy's going to be top of the league. However, it's really, really promising to see when you go up against multiple first-round picks, you have 35 pass blocking snaps, and you allow 0 pressures. So I do think that is actually really, really good for the Browns to add another really key offensive line piece. Now let's get into the negatives here. And I think I really have one major negative, and that's Mekhi Becton. He was supposed to reportedly only play about 20 to 25 snaps, and he took 7 and took himself out. Now, could that be he's not 1,000% ready to go for the season? That could be. Could it be that, he wasn't as confident, keeping his feet under him and getting blocks down and really trusting himself and trusting his body to remain healthy on, a potentially unstable turf? Potentially, but he's going to need to get that confidence back because when you're going up against teams, they have a very, very tough early schedule. The Jets could very well go 0-4. If you don't have the confidence underneath you in a potentially rainy game, I mean, it's going to be a problem here. But I think the Jets, in order to be successful this season, because they have a 38-year-old tackle in Dwayne Brown. They have Mekhi Becton, who's injury-prone. Your best offensive lineman is Elijah Vera Tucker, who's an extremely young player. You're going to need to build up some confidence within this offense and really help Aaron Rodgers, who, his rushing yards per game have plummeted down to, low single digits when he was getting about 10 to 20, at least to the early part of his career. So he's now basically strictly a pocket passer. So if you have an offensive lineman who was supposed to be extremely promising, he's not very confident in himself to keep his feet under him in not pristine and perfect conditions, I'm going to be a little bit concerned about that. But
the guy's been out 32 of 33 games or something on possible games. He only played one game.
33 or 34.
One game out of 34 games. So the fact that he's a little sensitive and a little cautious in his very first game in a meaningless game, I can understand it.
You want to build on it. And another thing.
Yeah, well, he's probably, he's in practice. He's working there, so the fact that he stayed in just a few plays, I give him a pass on this game.
Here's something that I meant to mention. There's one more negative here. These weren't like special teams coaches coaching defense and offense. These were the actual OCs and DCs calling these plays. And I know it's just backups and third stringers. But if your offense can only put up 16 points and only have one touchdown total in this entire game for the Jets and a bunch of field goals, and you give up 172 rushing yards, and you put some of your reserves out there and some second tier to starting rotation guys. Jermaine Johnson's a part of that. Will McDonald, I assume, is going to be part of that. This could be a warning sign saying, hey, our defense, at least rotation-wise, we better make sure our starting lineup stays healthy throughout the year. Because otherwise, I don't know how great we're going to be later on.
Yeah, well, the defense, I think, would be the bigger question mark there if you had anything to question from a game that was meaningless.
No,
right?
Exactly.
They gave up 172 yards. Salah is known for being a defensive mind, right?
Right.
A big defensive coach. So it's a little embarrassing for him in the Hall of Fame game to give up that many yards on the ground.
I think it's pretty bad. So that's really the only other knock I have. And besides, the Jets could have as much talent as they want. They brought in Brett Favre. They've had Darrelle Revis there. They've had Mark Sanchez, 12 years ago win games. But after really that point, the Jets in the totality are not a winning team. They don't have a winning culture. They have a losing culture. One of probably the worst losing cultures in the NFL. I think the Bucs and the Lions may have it worse, but the Jets aren't a team that come out here and have a lot of, pride in winning games. Are they promising? Yeah. Are they a budding team? Yeah. Should they have confidence? Yeah, they have great players. But it's a question of, can you will your team to win? And if you're losing in a preseason game to the Cleveland Browns, when you're supposed to be this, Super Bowl contending team, you got to be complete here. Your coaches are calling these plays, and you only scored one touchdown. I don't know. I might just be a little bit too harsh on the Jets, but these are just little seedlings that I could potentially see. Your coaches are not setting up your depth players to succeed, and you lose to the Browns. You give up 172 rushing yards. I'm not saying I'm not saying fully this is a sign of things to come, but it very well could be. But I don't know. I could just be a little bit rough on the Jets on a Friday evening.
It's a little early to write them off, I think. It was only the Hall of Fame game.
Yeah, no.
I didn't play anybody new. At least a few players, not much.
A couple here and there, but really nothing else. Yeah. All right, let's get into our next topic. So we haven't talked about this story all week, but I think it's time we dive in now because there's a report out by Dan Graziano of ESPN, and he reports that there's some concern with how Russell Wilson will potentially succeed or fail, or how he'll actually work within this new Sean Payton offense. So I want to what are your expectations for Russell Wilson after an abysmal year last year?
He'll be better, and he should be good in Sean Payton's offense because all the quarterbacks that Sean Payton's ever coached have been good in his offense, right? Jameis Winston had over 100 quarterback rating in his offense. Teddy Bridgewater had over 100 quarterback rating and a 5-1 record playing with Sean Payton. We all know what Drew Brees did, right? So I don't think it will be the strategy or the plays and the structure of the offense that's going to be an issue. It's just whether Russell Wilson can step up and learn the offense and thrive in it.
Yeah. Well, I've been talking about this all off season and throughout last season. Although we didn't talk much about the Broncos because there really was nothing to talk about with the Broncos. But I did say I would consider the way Russell Wilson's career is trending to be exactly that, a trend. This is not some sort of blip that you could say, oh, it's just one bad year, like we could do maybe with the Trevor Lawrence with the Urban Meyer situation. We can now classify that as a blip. We saw Brett Favre, he got hurt. You could maybe mark that as a blip because he came back and made the playoffs with the Vikings, had a chance to make it to a Super Bowl. We've had some, like Tom Brady's 2019 season was a blip. He did not actually fall off a cliff here. He went out, won a Super Bowl, and also threw for 5,300 yards after the fact. Could Aaron Rodgers, could he be on the same trend of maybe is it a blip, maybe is it a trend? Who knows? But for Russell Wilson, I'm considering this 100% a trend because we've actually seen a decline in Russell Wilson's career from his ending years with the Seahawks, now immediately starting off with the Denver Broncos. I mean, he had career lows in basically everything. The completion percentage was an all-time low. Passing yards was one of his lowest of his career. Touchdowns was by far the lowest, by 9. Actually, the 9 was from the previous year. 2021, last year with the Seahawks, he had 25. Then it went to 16. And the year before both those, he had 40. So we do see this sort of decline. Interceptions, 11, most since 2020. So Russell Wilson, he's sort of been on this decline, but I will give you your credit when credit's due. Sean Payton has sort of a Kyle Shanahan effect when it comes to quarterbacks. He's seen success with Teddy Bridgewater. He's seen success with Taysom Hill, Jameis Winston. So I'll give you that. 100%. He's had some success with other quarterbacks, and it's impressive when you think Taysom Hill went like 7-2. Jameis Winston had 14 touchdowns, 3 picks. So we're talking about a coach who knows his stuff. And while it's not fair to put him maybe in the top 8 of coaches because he hasn't coached in a year or so, you still got to put him in his top 10 because of what he can bring to the table. Yeah. Maybe not what he's brought, in the past year.
No,
but
I think that Russell Wilson should be confident that Sean Payton's going to bring an offense that you can win with.
Yes,
and that he can thrive in, and he should. But he played terrible last year. I'm sorry. I mean, they could have been 11-6 if they'd only scored 20 points a game. 20 points a game. That's not that hard to do.
The average a lot of the average,
and I think a lot of games they had like 9 points a game.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous. I mean, that's terrible. And not like he didn't have any tools out there on the field. He had some pretty good wide receivers, right? He had a decent running back, although Melvin Gordon is somebody who fumbled the ball a lot, right?
Well, and they also had Javonte Williams who tore his ACL, down the line last season, but still. When people are calling you a Hall of Famer now, and you put up, the most the most wins, 10 years straight, starting out of your rookie year, obviously, of like 10 or more wins. I think that's an NFL record or something like that. But you were abysmal. Like your playmaking was bad. You're making mistake after mistake. I mean, the pinnacle of how that season was going to turn out, we probably could have saw back in Week 5 against the Indianapolis Colts, when Matt Ryan, who looked horrible at that point in the season, and Russell Wilson battled it off, and I believe that was a Thursday night game. It went to overtime, and that was probably like the most. I'm sorry, did that go to? I'm pretty sure. I'll look it up right now. Did this go to overtime? Yeah, it went to overtime. It was the most boring game to watch. We're talking about a game where, in totality, there were 15 penalties. The Colts went 4 of 16. Denver went 2 of 15. I mean, this was a horrible game to watch. It was 6 total fumbles, and at one point, Russell Wilson, I think it took him till like week 14 to throw for more passing touchdowns than he had bathrooms in his house. I mean, that's pretty bad when people are calling you a Hall of Famer. And if we're talking about now, a quarterback who apparently people are calling a Hall of Famer right now, and he goes up with Sean Payton and they don't perform very well, I think there should be a movement to strip him of his proverbial gold jacket that people are giving him. I've talked about it before. Russell Wilson has not been, Russell Wilson has not led a top 10 passing offense for most of his years in the NFL. But has he had a top 5 rushing attack in the NFL? Yeah, he has. And is he partially a part of that? Yes, he's a more mobile quarterback than most other quarterbacks in the league. And he actually dialed that back the past couple of years. But this is a pass-first league. Now, you did win a Super Bowl, but you had a hellacious defense, and that's something else that Russell Wilson has benefited for. I'm not too sure. My expectations are, last season, Russell Wilson himself, because he was dealing with an injury, Russell Wilson himself, I'll bring it up right now, he went 4-11. Can he double his win total? He should. 100% he should. He's getting his running back. He lost Tim Patrick, but his wide receivers are coming back healthier. Sean Payton boosted that offensive line. That defense is still great. So I'm expecting at least double your win total. And that means that overall your passing stats should be much better.
I agree with you. 100%.
If we're talking about it, this guy, people are calling a Hall of Famer.
I think the Broncos will win some games just because they got a very good defense.
Yeah.
And if Russell Wilson doesn't throw so many interceptions at least, and the running game's half decent, They should win some of those games just because of the keeping the other offense off the field because the defense is good.
Right.
So I think good defense is really important. They've got a good defense, and I think the defense was very frustrated last year with how poor the offense was. They called Russell Wilson right out on the field.
One of the defensive tackles was getting in his face.
Getting in his face. Like, yes, come on, guy. What's going on here?
It was pretty bad. I want to make sure I get this correct. Last year, if I'm not mistaken, Baker Mayfield scored like 50 points on this team. I may be mistaken, but I believe that is the case. Baker Mayfield, this is one of Baker Mayfield's like light 'em up games where he actually absolutely torched the Broncos, because I know obviously we had the Raider comeback game, and that's actually the episode before that game. We mentioned how, or at least I mentioned how, I thought Baker Mayfield will never get another starting job. Lo and behold, he gets two. Actually,
you're wrong.
Actually, well, the Bucs, we don't know. He could. Right now, according to, I thought about doing this topic, but I did it on Wednesday. Baker Mayfield may lose his starting job. He may lose his starting job to Kyle Trask. He might want to retire. The Rams dropped 51 on this defense and on this team. Russell Wilson was injured for that game, however, but still. Now, here's a good sign. The Broncos can get on some sort of a run here because their first 4 games are Raiders, Commanders, Dolphins, and Bears. There's a really, really good shot.
It should be 3-1.
They should be 3-1, if not 4-0 if you beat the Dolphins. I don't think you could beat the Dolphins. However, 3-1 is still a great start.
The Dolphins?
It is at Dolphins, yes.
Yeah. They probably won't. Well, they might not win that one.
But then your next 4 games, depending on if people start believing in Sean Payton and believing in Russell Wilson again, the next 4 games are Jets, Chiefs, Packers, Chiefs.
Oh. Wow.
You're going to go 1-3 there. So there is a shot when you hit your bye week, you're 4-4. There is a pretty decent shot you're 4-4. And then you go in and play, you play the rest of the season not that easy. Bills, Vikings, Browns, Texans, Chargers, Lions, Patriots, Chargers, Raiders. That's not an entirely easy schedule there. Your only definite wins probably are the Texans and Browns. I think the Patriots will give you, some trouble.
Yep.
The Chargers obviously will give you trouble. The Lions had a high-flying offense last year, and they retained their OC.
Yeah.
The Vikings, they went 11-0 one-score games, made the playoffs. Kirk Cousins, I think he's part of like the top 30 or 40 players according to the players in that NFL top 100 list. The Bills obviously going to give you some pause, and the Raiders, we don't know. Will Jimmy G be hurt at that point? I'm not entirely sure, but I do think there's hope.
The Broncos are in a tough division.
Yeah, I would say the
Chargers and the Chiefs are very good teams. So
you're not giving it to the Raiders. Raiders aren't a good team.
I don't think they're going to be that good. Most people pick them to be last in the division.
I would 100% do it unless Russell Wilson looks like trash again. Then I think Jimmy G has a shot to overtake him.
Yeah, maybe.
So I'm not too sure, but the fact that Russell Wilson, a Hall of Fame quarterback, first-year head coach like Sean Payton with this Broncos team, developing an offense, and Russell Wilson is already, not great at it. I think we could, that's not great, and I feel more confident in my prediction early in the offseason and late last season that Russell Wilson, this could be the downward spin for him. This could be, the beginning of the end.
It will be if he has a lousy season this year. That will say he is on the way down.
And I think that's
for
rightfully
sure.
so.
There's no rebound. He's just trending badly.
Because Sean Payton is a well-respected coach. Like you said.
And
Teddy
you know
Bridgewater.
what? There's a chance he might not be starting later in the year if he really performs poorly. They have Stidham.
Maybe.
He played okay in this last few games for the Raiders. So they brought him in, paid him reasonable bucks to be there. So they might go to him. I don't know why they didn't try to get Jameis Winston. Why didn't they try to go get him?
I want to do a Jameis Winston topic soon.
Yeah, I do too. I think he's.
We'll do it Monday.
He's dissed. And treated poorly. Maybe it shouldn't be.
Yeah, maybe. We'll do that topic for Monday. So Monday we'll talk about Jameis Winston because I really, really like the quote he had recently. But I do think there could be a potential chance, like you said, Jarrett Stidham pulling up if Russell
Wilson falls on his face.
Well, not only that, if he just has close, he doesn't need to have 100% 1-to-1 repeat of last year. But if it's close to last year, I think
if
Sean
it's
Payton
close to
will
last year,
seriously think about it.
they'll bench him. I think.
I do think that is a potential outcome. But we'll have to wait and see. The Broncos, they start off easy, and then you go a little bit of a tough streak later on in the year. But under Sean Payton, Russell Wilson should at least double his win total and get to 8 wins. But of course, we will have to see. All right, coming up, Jerry Jones recently made some comments on how the Cowboys offense is now more Dak friendly. We react to his comments, and the quarterback competition in New England still seems to be open after Bill Belichick and now Bill O'Brien have not given Mac Jones the vote of confidence as beating the Patriots quarterback one entering week 1 soon. We discussed that right after this.
You have a lot to say. Maybe you've thought, I should start a podcast. Meet Anchor, the easiest way to make a podcast ever. It's a powerful mobile app and web tool that lets you record a podcast anywhere and distribute it everywhere. It's great whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out. And it's 100% free. You can record your show straight into Anchor on your phone, iPad, or the web, using any mic you want. Record alone or with friends or co-hosts anywhere in the world. You can add background music and transitions, and your listeners can send you voice messages that you can incorporate right into your next episode. If you want to produce your show using another app, you can upload your own audio directly from web or mobile, and still take advantage of Anchor's totally free podcast hosting. Once your podcast is ready to publish, Anchor can automatically distribute it to every major podcast platform. That includes Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, so your listeners can hear your show wherever they want. And on the web, you can see detailed analytics about how people are listening. Plus, you'll get a great-looking profile page where anyone can listen to your podcast or subscribe to it. And if you want to ask your audience to support your work, Anchor makes it easy to collect monthly payments from the people who love your podcast and want to see it grow. You really don't need a recording studio, expensive equipment, or a bunch of technical knowledge to deal with a podcast feed. Just get started and join the diverse community of podcasters already on Anchor. We can't wait to hear your podcast.
Introducing video podcasts on Spotify.
Transform your storytelling into a show everyone can watch
Or listen to.
Easily upload your video through Anchor, Spotify's free podcast creation tool.
So whether you're showing off a new recipe,
Interviewing an exclusive guest,
or uncovering the next mystery,
you can now reach a whole new audience with Spotify.
podcasting just became more than audio.
Create with Anchor, watch on Spotify.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name's Nathan Harvey, and as always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our next topic here. So, first of all, Mike McCarthy is now calling plays for the Dallas Cowboys, which is shocking after getting rid of Kellen Moore as their previous OC, who now is the OC of the Chargers. I think the Chargers offense is going to be very, very explosive this season. But now Mike McCarthy is calling plays, and now Jerry Jones has an interesting quote here talking about how on 96.7 The Ticket about the Cowboys offense in 2023. So he says it's a Dak friendly. The offense is Dak friendly. He's going to have more opportunities to dump the ball off to the backs. He's going to have less to do before the snap and less to read after the snap. The receivers are going to be less dependent upon reading the D-back and Dak reading the D-back. It's going to be more about being at a spot where they should be. And once again, that's Jerry Jones talking about the Cowboys offense entering 2023. So I want to know, who's on the hotter seat? Is it all on Dak Prescott, or is it all on head coach Mike McCarthy?
Yeah, well, how do you, first, before I answer that, how do you take that quote from Jerry Jones? So what does that mean? What does you think that says about what he thinks about Dak Prescott? Does he think he's a dumbbell?
3 words. Dumbing it down.
Dumbing it down.
This is going to be a
He thinks Dak is a dumbbell.
super simplistic offense, like he said. Let's bring up the quote again. Super simplistic offense. Dak friendly. Have more opportunities to dump the ball to the backs. He's going to have less to do before the snap. And less to read after the snap.
I don't think he should ever have said that. He should never have said that.
It's
That
Jerry
makes
Jones.
it. This is Dak Prescott.
I mean,
Jerry Jones. He is a general
receivers
manager.
are going to be less
general
dependent.
manager. the Cowboys have not. They've never made it to the Super Bowl with him as a general manager.
Right? It's been what 30, 20. I don't even know how long
since
it's
Jimmy.
been. It's been multiple decades
was
since they made the Super Bowl.
was it Jimmy Johnson got them there and won it 3 times, and then there's one other coach I can't think of his name that made it once, and then since then that was years ago, years and years and years ago. They haven't done much. They haven't made it to the Super Bowl.
Are you talking about a coach?
The coach. I'm trying to think of what his name was. It escapes me.
Well, the coach for the last Super Bowl win, the Dallas Cowboys, was Barry Switzer.
Yeah, Barry Switzer. Yeah,
that was the last.
Yeah, that was the last time, and that was right. That was like 1 year after
1995.
After Jimmy Johnson left.
2 years.
2 years after that. Yeah, so.
1995 was the last time they made the Super Bowl.
1995.
Last time they made and won.
That's a long time ago.
30. We're getting close to 30 years now.
Jerry's not getting any younger. I think he ought to hand off the general manager role to somebody else, and I don't think he should be saying stuff like that to his about his quarterback. Dak friendly. It means Dak's a dumbbell.
Basically, like I said, dumbing it down.
They can dumb it down so he won't make any mistakes. He just hands it off or throws it to a spot.
So I'm going to ask you, who's on the hotter seat, Mike McCarthy or Dak Prescott?
Well, that's a tough question. I think they both have a lot of pressure on them. McCarthy, because if they don't win a lot, if they don't get deep into the playoffs this year, I think McCarthy will be fired.
Really?
I do. I think so. I mean, he has to win at least, he has to win at least one playoff game and be competitive in the second one, I think. Even if they lose that, they might hang on to him. But if he doesn't make the playoffs, they're firing him, that's for sure. And I think he has more pressure on himself than he did last year because he's taken on more control, right? He's taken on the offensive coordinator role. And if Dak Prescott doesn't perform well in that, they're going to blame him. Partially, anyway. And then Dak Prescott, I mean, he didn't get it done under Jason Garrett either. He hasn't got it done under Mike McCarthy or this other Kellen Moore, the other offensive coordinator. So last year I don't dislike Dak Prescott, but he threw a lot of interceptions last year, and he did beat the Bucs in the first game of the playoffs, but the Bucs were only half of the team they were in the past. So in the second playoff game, he didn't do well.
I want to say this. I think you're down. Dak Prescott crushed the Bucs. I think he had 5 touchdowns. It was a blowout.
But we knew the Bucs weren't going to win that game.
I know. I think you picked him just out of Tom Brady. He might have one last spark.
I did pick them because I like Tom Brady.
But we're talking about like this. This was basically like a public execution for Tom. It was an axe to Brady's head at the end of his career. Like it was pretty bad. But and you talked about him throwing. He literally threw the game away against the 49ers. Literally threw it away. He had an opportunity after opportunity. Brock Purdy wasn't playing that great. The Cowboys defense was doing their job, held this team that was averaging 30-plus points, late in the season with Brock Purdy to 19 points. And you, who the past couple seasons, even though Brady threw for 5,300 yards, you averaged the most points per game in the NFL the past couple seasons. And you put up 12 points against this team. And Dak literally, like I said, threw the game away. He had, 2 very bad interceptions. They weren't even like, oh my God, tips or close calls. These are just bad.
Yeah. And they're going to turn him into a dink and dunk guy. He's not going to throw the ball down the field very far. They're going to run the ball a lot, and they're going to count on the defense. And they're going to let him. He's not going to be the one that's going to lose the games for them. That's where they're headed. They're going to take. They gave Mike McCarthy more control, and they're taking control away from Dak Prescott.
Right.
That's what they're doing. And I don't know how Dak probably feels about that, particularly with what Jerry Jones said about him.
Yeah. Well, for some people saying, Mike McCarthy's not a great head coach. He should get fired, whatever.
I don't dislike him that much either. I mean, he's okay.
And I'm going to show you.
He won a Super Bowl.
He did win a Super Bowl. I'm going to do something that I've done a couple times. I did it Jalen Hurts versus Josh Allen. I did it a couple times. But I think we need to give a little bit more respect to Mike McCarthy. And so I've put together a, would you rather Mike McCarthy edition. So these are, I didn't just pick random coaches I didn't just choose random coaches out the NFL. These are actually well-respected coaches throughout the league. So I want to do the first one.
Oh, my God.
Would you rather Mike McCarthy or option B? Mike McCarthy, better win percentage, more division titles, more conference championship appearances, same amount of Super Bowl appearances and titles. So who would you rather have, Mike McCarthy or option B?
Well, in this case, Mike McCarthy's won more games, right? He's won 5 to 8 more games than this other coach and lost 2 fewer. He's got more division. He's got 7 division titles. This coach only got 4. He's what's the CCG? What's that stand for?
Conference championship appearances.
4 against 3, and 1 Super Bowl appearance, and he won the Super Bowl he was in. So you got to say Mike McCarthy is a hair above this coach.
So you would choose Mike McCarthy over John Harbaugh.
Yeah, that's hard. That's a surprise, actually, isn't it?
That's why it's so.
But you know what? John Harbaugh has not done that well in the last 7 or 8 years.
Right.
He has not done very well. I mean, he's had a competitive team, but he hasn't gotten to the playoffs much.
Yeah.
Right.
And
he hasn't won any. When he got there, he
hasn't
gotten any wins. So
yeah.
He's since he won the Super Bowl, right, with Joe Flacco. It's been downhill for him a little bit.
It has been.
Yeah.
It has been. All right, let's go into the next part here. So, would you rather? Mike McCarthy edition number 2. So, once again, very similar wins. Mike McCarthy has coached more games there. Same amount of division titles, 1 more conference championship appearance, same amount of Super Bowl appearances, and Super Bowl wins.
I'm going to take the mystery coach.
You're taking the mystery coach.
Yeah.
Then you would take
Sean Payton. Yeah.
I don't know if I would take that.
I think I would in that case.
I think it's very, very close if you were to take
Sean Payton has got a little more creativity on the offensive side of the ball.
I'll give you that.
Mike McCarthy. Yeah.
But the fact that
and he's gotten better performance out of his quarterbacks than Mike McCarthy because he did have Drew Brees as a Hall of Famer.
Well, Mike McCarthy also had Aaron Rodgers. You also have to say that.
That's true, but he won a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers, and so did
Peyton.
Yeah.
But then Peyton also had Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill and Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, and those guys played well under him.
And then Mike McCarthy did. I would put Dak Prescott over every single one of those quarterbacks. But you know what? I don't know what we're gonna see for Sean Payton this year. But let's get into our next. Would you rather Mike McCarthy or a head coach with about what 8 more wins, 4 more losses, same amount of ties, same amount of division titles, 1 less conference championship appearance, 1 more Super Bowl appearance, but the same amount of Super Bowl titles. Would you rather option A or option B?
I'm going to take option B.
Then you would be taking Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I understand Mike Tomlin is a respected coach. But when we're talking, this is simply it's a Greg Popovich. It's now a Bill Belichick. It's whenever you're done, you're done. We don't expect to win with you. We don't expect you to come in here and save our franchise anymore. We don't expect you to coach up a Super Bowl winning team. Would we like that? Of course. But you're a well-respected coach. You're just here to the end of your career. I'm not yes, Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season, but they've never been, uber successful. I mean, as soon as you lost Big Ben, it was, we talk about drop-off here. You haven't got the offensive line right. Your running game should be good with Najee Harris. Kenny Pickett seems like a competent quarterback instead of Mason Rudolph or whoever the hell you also got behind him. You have George Pickens who's, mossing people, mossing Joey Porter on the defensive side in practice. This team is promising, but when you go up against the rest of the teams, the AFC, or hell, even in the NFL, including the NFC, I don't know where exactly I would put the Steelers among NFL teams. I don't think it would be incredibly high. I think it would be above average, but I would say barely. But I do think it's close. But personally, that 1 Super Bowl appearance, that 1 extra Super Bowl appearance, I think is enough for me to at least make it very, very, very close between Mike McCarthy and
He's got more wins and fewer losses.
Less big.
They got the same number of ties.
So yeah, they do the same amount of ties. But the fact that it's close. And Mike McCarthy, we've heard him.
It is close, but you know what? That says, you know what? I think it says a lot for Mike McCarthy that he's very close to Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin's a good coach.
He's a well-respected coach.
Very highly regarded.
You are not hearing anyone
very high. He's never had a losing season.
Yeah, no,
never had a losing season.
But what I'm saying is, you're not hearing people, go after Mike Tomlin with pitchforks and torches, saying fire him. Yet Mike McCarthy after last season was like, "Is it the coach? Should we get rid of the coach? Is Mike McCarthy going to get fired? Should Mike McCarthy get fired?" We're not hearing that, and yet it's combo with and we have one more. I believe this is the last one. So, we have, 6 more wins, but also...
a lot more losses.
15 more losses, 1 less tie.
Yeah.
1 less division title, 2 less conference championship appearance, but 1 more Super Bowl appearance, same amount of Super Bowl wins. Who would you rather choose, Mike McCarthy or option B, the mystery head coach?
2 Super Bowl appearances compared to 1. Getting to the Super Bowl is what it's all about. I'm taking the option B.
Then you'd be taking Pete Carroll. Which, once again, I don't know at face value. I would take straight up.
Yeah.
Pete Carroll has not got... The offensive line's improving, not great.
Pete Carroll has defining...
Running game is not good.
Pete Carroll's defining moment was the interception by Malcolm Butler in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He never should have called that play. He'll always be remembered for that. Sometimes people have defining moments in their coaching and playing career. That's his, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, I'll give you that. And in the past 7 years, we're talking about a defensive head coach. They were never top 10 in defense in the past 7 years. Multiple years, however, they were bottom 10 in defense.
Mm-hmm. So, now that I see who it is, I think I should have taken McCarthy.
Well, that's the great thing about this mystery head coach list. Would you rather? So, I mean, we've taken a look at that. I think we need to put a little bit more respect on McCarthy's name a little bit.
I think you're right. I don't dislike Mike McCarthy.
I mean, I'm not saying, oh my God, phenomenal coach, all time. I mean, is he an all-time good coach? Yeah, he's won a Super Bowl. He's coached a great quarterback. But to say, to fire him after, 3 seasons with the Cowboys, and it wasn't entirely his fault. Did he have one bad play call against the 49ers a couple years ago, where apparently it was a designed QB draw with 17 seconds left? That was bad.
They played very poorly in that game. It's like they didn't have an offensive scheme. They didn't know what they were doing on offense in that game.
I think if you had a few
more seconds, it would have been smart. He had a lot of criticism in that game. He never came alive until right at the end there, and then they had that play where Dak Prescott ran and ran out of time.
Right,
he ran out of time.
but to say that he should get fired when they've literally scored the most points in the entire NFL, more than the Bills, Eagles at the time, Bucks, Chiefs in the entire NFL. Hold on, take a pause for a second. This is a high flying offense. This should be a well respected offense. This team has some talent. Now, honestly, Dak Prescott played 11 games last season and had the most turnovers in the NFL. I mean, you can't have that and say that it's your head coach's fault. No, it's your quarterback being a klutz, and that's why Jerry Jones is coming out and saying, basically we need to dumb it down. We got to basically simplify it and say people are going to be in certain spots, just throw it to them. We're going to try to, make this easy. You don't got to worry about, post-snap looking. Don't worry about pre-snap. Just we're going to have set play. It's basically... It's essentially risk-free. Dak Prescott should tone it down the turnovers. And you know what? We could see potentially them resort to a sort of old-style offense that Bill Belichick may run, or I expect him to run, running game and heavy defense. Now, the Cowboys have the heavy defense, but is Tony Pollard and was this Deuce Vaughn, the 5'5" running back, they're going to be the dynamic 1-2.
Deuce Vaughn?
Yeah, thunder and lightning dynamic duo in the backfield. I'm not entirely sure, but I do expect Dak Prescott, we're going to see not a regression, more so a restriction on what he's going to be doing. And we already sort of see effects on why Jerry Jones may say that. He's thrown 6 interceptions in training camp so far. And they haven't been good. They haven't been close. They've been under throws. What the hell are you looking at throws? I mean,
who's their backup quarterback? They still have that guy.
I think it's Cooper Rush.
Cooper Rush.
I think it's still Cooper Rush.
He actually has a pretty good record as a starter.
No, he was undefeated almost.
Yeah, well, he lost one there.
Yeah,
right before Dak came back.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I'm just saying, Dak has to dumb it down. And I think Jerry Jones saying that. It doesn't give him a confidence boost.
No, well, obviously now he's throwing more interceptions.
But does he deserve it? I don't think Dak deserves it. He screwed over his team a couple times with very, very poor play.
We'll see what happens.
I think it's going to be interesting. The Cowboys should at least be the number 2 seed in their own division. They're not worse than the Giants. They're for sure not worse than the Commanders. Do I think that they could compete against the Eagles? And the Eagles have, Super Bowl hangover, and they take a decent step back. I'm not saying they win under 10 games, but they take a step back from being, 13-4, 14-3, and they win 11, 10 games maybe. I think they're going to win more than 11 games, maybe 12. But
they've been winning 12. Haven't they been winning, averaging 12 wins a year under Mike McCarthy?
The Cowboys, no, they
Yeah.
were doing this first year. I think he went 6-10. But the past
First
couple,
year, yeah.
I think the past couple seasons though, he's winning.
He's winning 12. Yeah.
Like what I'm saying, like if we're talking about the Eagles, I do think they're going to take maybe one half step back. They lost their OC in DC. It's Super Bowl hangover. You just made it. I understand you lost it, but the idea of
They're
getting
going to lose to the Patriots on week 1.
yeah, I think you're crazy for that. Are you putting some money on that game?
No. I'll be watching, though.
So yeah, no, I do think the Cowboys could compete with the Eagles, and for how the NFC looks, beating the Eagles out for the number 1 spot in the NFC East could be the number 1 seed in the entire NFC. So it could be both NFC East title and NFC title there if we're talking about the number 1 seed. And the Cowboys had that type of talent, but the question is though, Mike McCarthy could drop the best play. If Dak Prescott can't execute it, it's a throwaway. It's pointless because you don't have the players that can execute. It could be the best scripted play in the history of the NFL. But if Dak Prescott throws an interception by 15 yards, you can't put that on Mike McCarthy. So that's what I'm saying. Just put a little bit more respect on Mike McCarthy's name. All right, let's get into our sort of second to last topic. It is basically our last topic after my topic of Friday Fun Day, where I show you a little clip that you actually saw in between or trying to get up the other graphic. It's interesting. So Bill Belichick had a very questionable quote when he was asked about the QB competition on whether or not Mac will be the surefire starting quarterback heading into week 1, and this is what he had to say. He said, we'll see how those guys do when the real football starts. Pads come on. There's a little more pass rush and so forth, but they can all run the offense efficiently. We'll give them a chance to compete and see how it goes. Now, I remember middle of the year, you were campaigning, bring in Zappy. Mac Jones is washed.
Yeah.
But then I think, you've let it sit. You sort of let it marinate. And I think you're coming around to say, okay, the offense was prone to fail. Now I still think you think Mac Jones has, a decent amount of blame there. But I could be mistaken. Do you no longer think Bailey Zappi should be the starter? Do you think it should be Mac Jones's job? Or do you think Bailey Zappi, still has a above 50% chance to be that starting quarterback?
I think that Bill Belichick is right. Let him go out there and compete for a while and see who plays better. I think that's the right way to approach it at this point. They haven't put the pads on yet. Now they're going to start doing that, and we'll see how they play. I personally think Mac Jones will play pretty well. I think that under Bill O'Brien, he's going to have a guy who knows the offensive coordinator position very well, is highly regarded, has had success as a head coach and an offensive coordinator, was the offensive coordinator for Tom Brady. And they won big when he was doing that. He's back with the Patriots. I think he and Bill Belichick probably get along well. I noticed that Bill O'Brien is not making any comments about who should be the starter either because he knows that he's not the head coach.
I have a development there. You're going to be surprised.
Yeah.
Today he actually had a comment.
Yeah, but he didn't say who should be the head coach, the starting quarterback, right?
He had it was a bigger vote of confidence for Mac Jones than you would expect.
What did he say?
He said that he loves coaching Mac Jones. He respects the way Mac Jones comes in early, leaves late. He enjoys coaching him. But he said it's all about, high-level, consistent play that is going to, define a starter. So it was a nicer Bill Belichick answer.
Mm-hmm. I think that it's fair for them to get out there and compete and see who plays better. I'm sure Bailey Zappi is fired up. I'm sure he's going to try very hard. And he has some skill. I think he showed it last year, and he has a great attitude. He's totally a team player, and he's not dissing the coaches out on the field. I think that he's probably, in Belichick's eyes, quite highly respected. I think he is respected. And I do think that Mac Jones is trying to put this behind him in terms of what happened last year. He said that it's a fresh start. And, he's happy that there's going to be a strategy and that they can get out there. And that's one of the things he's most excited about is having a game plan and executing it. I
will say this. I've been a Mac Jones supporter from the very beginning. However, I did say in my mock draft, I thought the Patriots will move up to get Justin Fields. But as soon as they drafted Mac Jones, I was like, okay, this is our guy. This is who the Patriots want, deserve, need. He's very Tom Brady-esque. He has a Tom Brady build, especially in during the draft. He looked a little bit of a heavier version of Tom Brady, but still pretty ugly for a combine picture. But Mac Jones should be the starter here. I think the way Mac Jones was set up to fail, I mean, think about it. He had a I say this all the time, defensive coordinator calling offensive plays on a special teams coordinator be his quarterback coach. Now being the quarterback coach, he was the head coach of the New York Giants. Joe Judge made Daniel Jones the 26th ranked quarterback when he was there. Matt Patricia went on the Lions as the head coach, complete failure. Made Matthew Stafford a very much below average quarterback from, I think he's well respected, Matt Stafford, and he could be a Hall of Famer. It's just unfortunate that he played with the Lions most of his career, wasn't able to get that postseason success. But Belichick brought him on, put him in the wrong role, reportedly 10 scripted passing plays for the entire season, a lot of screens, a lot of short passes, nothing really much to improve Mac Jones' game. Now we saw year one, competent OC Josh McDaniels. Mac Jones put up better numbers in some places than Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady, Josh Allen, and Matt Stafford. He had like 3,800 passing yards. He looked really, really good for a rookie. Now in year two, which I said before the season last year, year two will be the most important year for Mac Jones in his development, especially because he does not have the skill set of a Justin Fields or a Jalen Hurts or a Lamar Jackson. He can't run like that. He doesn't have the rocket arm as a Herbert or an Allen or a Mahomes. He doesn't have that. But what he is, he could be super efficient. We saw that in his rookie year. And what we heard out of training camp about this time was the offense looked stagnant. There were stops. There were run stops right at the line. A lot of would-be sacks. The offense could not get going. And we're actually hearing more positive things right now. Mac Jones, while it's not exactly close per se, Mac Jones has a higher completion percentage in training camp thus far. He has more passing touchdowns than Bailey Zappi has in training camp thus far. So while I do think it could be a little bit of a motivation for Mac Jones, the fact that you screwed him over last season, I think at least as the head coach of the Patriots, I mean, he was giving nicknames to Cam Newton when he was there. He gave Jarrett Stidham even a nickname. We're not exactly hearing, Mac Jones get that same, joking around vote of confidence, that Bill Belichick maybe gave some of the lesser quarterbacks that he's had on his own damn roster.
Right, yeah.
So,
I would say,
give him a little bit of confidence here. You screwed him over last season.
It's a really good point, Nate. And one thing I'd add to it, one thing that these guys have to have is total confidence in themselves, right? Mac Jones, he's got to feel like I know I can do it. I know I can be the best. I know I can go out there and win. He's got to feel that way about himself because in the Patriots scheme, if you don't perform, the next guy's up. I mean, they don't just whatever your name is or however you've been in the past or where you came from does not matter. It's how you play when you're there with them. And if Mac Jones doesn't play well, he won't be playing. And they're not going to hand it to him. He's going to have to earn it. And for that reason, he's got to have total confidence in himself that he can do it because he's not going to get that vote of confidence from anybody on the Patriots staff at this point. He's got to go out there and earn it.
I do think the players are at least behind him. And even last season, David Andrews, we're talking about a Patriot captain, a veteran a well-respected Patriot. He was even behind Mac Jones. Kendrick Bourne was behind Mac Jones. So at least the players had some sort of recognition that this ain't all Mac Jones' fault. And even when he was doing what you could say is a childish behavior of especially in that Cardinals game, shoving off Matt Patricia, but between the sideline and the huddle, that didn't look great. The players were still behind him, and they still realized, it wasn't his fault that this offense was bad. I mean, the Bears game was a perfect example of what the hell are you expecting is going to happen? You put in Mac Jones, he throws a pick, then you immediately take him out, put in Bailey Zappi, and then what was supposed to happen was you were going to put Mac Jones back in the game. What the hell is that game plan? Let him play one half and one half. Don't go, maybe a couple drives here. Oh, and then you put in Zappi. A couple drives there. Let's take him out. Let's put in Mac again. Oh, but is Bailey Zappi good? Is Mac Jones still healthy? Let's throw him back. Like that Bears game was just bad. And we saw on the defensive side, the Patriots didn't know what the hell was going on. Maybe Belichick was too worried of figuring out, what he should do with his quarterbacks to maybe read up on Justin Fields and how to stop him. Because guess what? They did not stop Justin Fields.
I know, that was a weird game. I still don't understand it. The Bears looked really good against the Patriots there, and they weren't prepared to play them. They didn't have the right scheme for them. And it looked like when Zappi came in, and they actually had the lead there briefly, but then the defense, they weren't ready for Justin Fields, the running that he did. They couldn't stop him. And that's an issue with Patriots defense and mobile quarterbacks, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't have the right scheme for them.
I will say this, though. I told you in the break, there was the breaking news. Matt Judon and the Patriots have sorted out that contract issue. So at least on the defensive side, you're getting a guy back who had 15.5 sacks last season, and then the season before that had 12.5 sacks. So you're getting, a huge integral part of your defense. What made your defense so good, especially early on and midway through the year. Now Matt Judon in 2 straight seasons, he gets gassed at that last, that last third or that last quarter of the season. He gets gassed, and the defense isn't as sack hungry as they were maybe in the first half and then the beginning of the season, maybe in the first 3/4 of the season. So it's good to have Judon back. He said he wants to be with the Patriots the rest of his career.
That'd be good.
He says he loves New England, which is always a good sign. I think one of the few people that actually enjoy being in New England. Because right now, you don't have a Tom Brady there to entice people to join. Mac Jones couldn't lure DeAndre Hopkins to take a little bit of a pay cut to come to the Patriots.
I think the Patriots have good linebackers.
I do as well.
Uche's
good. Although you don't have the veteran piece in, Dante Hightower anymore. He retired.
Yeah.
You have Mac Wilson, who's not bad. He's not bad. Bentley, you have Juwan Bentley.
Juwan Bentley is a very good linebacker.
I think the Patriots do have some
they had
really,
a lot
really
of
good
sacks
pieces.
last year. They figured that out better, and maybe they've got some lineman pressure this year too. Who knows? We'll see. Barnmore is back. He was hurt last year.
You had Godshow back him up as well.
Yep.
Yeah, so you have a lot of really, really good pieces. Getting Judon back is good. You have your rookie Christian Gonzalez, who is I don't know. I've seen different things. I've seen really good things about him.
They say he's good. They say he's played well.
But then I've also seen like Keyshawn Boutte burn him and moss him. So I don't know.
Well, Boutte is not bad, Nate. You've heard some bad things about him. Or they've said some bad things about him.
I'll take Demario Douglas.
Yeah, well, Demario Douglas
he's tearing it up. He's shredding it up. I guarantee you, he's gonna. I'm not 100%.
You're guaranteeing. You said.
I'm guaranteeing he's gonna make the roster. But I think I heard recently Tyquan Thornton took a step back. Could Demario Douglas take that step up and go above him? That's what I was going to say.
I didn't see much from Thornton last year. He was a disappointment.
He got overplayed, way overplayed.
He can't catch the ball.
We saw in the Bengals game, Mac Jones dropped an absolute rainbow pass right in the bread basket, and he dropped it.
Yeah.
So it was unfortunate. But yeah, no, that's what I'm hearing now. Tyquan Thornton could make this big leap, but if Demario Davis is having that spark that he's had so far, Mac Jones is giving him a vote of confidence as well. I think there's a good shot he makes the starting lineup here, and Keyshawn Boutte gets his Boutte kicked out of New England. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. You had him pretty. I think you put him up like the third. You had him high up there for your picks.
He was ranked very high in the draft as a wide receiver.
He
fell very low there.
What was it,
Patriots
6th round, I think?
Yeah, I was surprised. I thought he would. I thought he would go much earlier.
Yeah, well,
I had him going in the first round. Actually,
had him going in the first round. Yeah. We didn't do terrible on our first round picks. I think we did a point system.
You got the first 2 right.
Yeah. I have to give you that. I thought C.J. Stroud may go first, but who knows? The Patriots. I don't know. They've been labeled as legit Super Bowl contenders. Bill O'Brien is apparently coaching up a really, really good offense thus far. The red zone is still an issue for both Zappi and Mac Jones.
Yeah.
So I think right now, is this really about, is Mac Jones that bad, or is it the Patriots coaches trying to push Mac Jones, saying, hey, this ain't necessarily your job. Stay playing this way. But then again, Mac Jones would be like, oh, I will, but you screwed me over. So at least tell me I'm doing a good job at least, instead of I don't know. We still have the quote up.
He's got to have supreme confidence in himself.
Where the real football starts. Now, and here's the thing. I don't know what the real football, could it be now when they're just starting to get pads on, or could the real football be? I think. Do you expect Mac Jones to play the preseason? At least some of the preseason?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Because that's when I expect at least real football to start, because you're playing another team at NFL speed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think truthfully, this is not going to happen. I think Mac Jones may play one or two drives. I'd play him the entire first quarter in every preseason game, or at least two out of the three.
I don't think he'll play in the first one.
Okay, then
I don't think he'll play in the first one. I think in
generally
the second one he'll play a couple of series in the second game, and then in the third one, I think he'll play a half at least.
Tom Brady played a few drives, even mid to late 30s.
There was some preseasons when Brady didn't play much at all.
Right, and also preseason doesn't really mean much. We've seen complete winless teams in the preseason. They go out and make Super Bowls. We've seen undefeated teams miss playoffs. So we'll have to wait and see. But the Patriots, give him a vote of confidence at least. I understand motivation, but Mac Jones motivated himself. He threw an interception, one of those interceptions I showed you, and immediately started doing push-ups. He doesn't need the coach to ridicule him.
He has to earn the respect of the coaches back based on what he did last year.
They
haven't forgotten that. They haven't forgotten it, and he's got to win their confidence back.
I will give him this, though, and you have to give him that. He does have the confidence of the players, though.
Yeah, well, the players are employees.
Correct. But Mac Jones is throwing it to the players.
Yeah.
So if he has the respect of the players, I think that's big. But you are right, because the coaches could just take you out. You won't even get a shot to see the field.
That's right.
So I will give you that. All right, so I've labeled this Friday Fun Day before, and I haven't really done anything for Friday Fun Day. And I said this to give you a little, maybe a laugh here. This is, Colt McCoy commanding the offense in practice, and this is what it looked like in the Cardinals practice. Let's take a look here. We have even kind of clown music over here, commanding the offense. We got motion. It's taking a long time to get this play developed. Oh, do we have an audible going? They're getting. Oh, there you go. Situations, audibles. Are we ready yet? Is the offense going yet? No, we have an audible again. And the ball finally gets snapped. Oh, here we go. Looking. Colt McCoy throws it. Great pass. Hits him in the back of the head. So, yeah, I
don't think the Cardinals, that's a foreshadowing of their season right there. Right?
Kyler Murray's out. He's going to take his sweet time recovering from that ACL injury.
Yeah.
And you have Colt McCoy. Was okay last season, not great. And the start of a practice nailing, who was it? Defensive back Marco Wilson in the head, intended for Zach Pascal. I don't know. Sign of things to come. I think the Cardinals, here's the thing. I think the Cardinals are going to be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes, the quarterback from USC. If I have the number one pick and I have an opportunity to draft Caleb Williams, I'm drafting him. Because, Kyler Murray, you talk about a decline in his career, including the injuries. What's happened recently, I don't know exactly how I would keep him as my starting quarterback. And there was a report out.
He gets one more chance.
I would say I saw the report
maybe
out
two.
when they didn't have a head coach. Head coaches did not want to coach the Cardinals to be restricted to keeping Kyler Murray under that contract.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that were deterring coaches, including Sean Payton, away. They didn't want to deal with Kyler Murray in his contract. So I think if you have a chance to get Caleb Williams, go for it. Because to see here, I'll play it again. To see this develop, this was 30 seconds long to get a horrible playoff. It doesn't even look the wide receiver, Zach Pascal. It didn't look like he was running. It was like jogging, and he still underthrew it. Are you kidding me? Already no audible time. What the hell is going on? This is the team in the NFL. He's not even really running, and then the pass is so underthrown, nails him in the back of the head. So yeah, that's a little bit of Friday Fun Day. I'll find more funny clips or wacky moments for next Friday's show. But coming up Monday, we sort of talked about it. We're gonna talk about Jameis Winston, whether or not he got snubbed, and whether or not he deserves another shot. We also probably have more news over the weekend as well. Hopefully more NFL news. NBA, we're going to talk about Anthony Davis's brand new contract probably on Monday. So go check that out. But for today's episode of the Harvey Hour, my name is Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. We are your co-hosts of the Harvey Hour. Catch us Monday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube.
Bye. Good night.
Introducing video podcasts on Spotify.
Transform your storytelling into a show everyone can watch
Or listen to.
Easily upload your video through Anchor, Spotify's free podcast creation tool.
So whether you're showing off a new recipe
Interviewing an exclusive guest,
or uncovering the next mystery,
you can now reach a whole new audience with Spotify.
podcasting just became more than audio.
Create with Anchor, watch on Spotify.